Good afternoon. I'm Caitlin Matson-Levy, and this is the Green Room. I welcome into the Green Room Ray Claus, who is a piano technician with Sharp's Piano. As you think about it, if you're a piano technician, or even just a piano tuner, you get to work everywhere. You work in a church basement, a burlesque club, a nightclub. You show up at Carnegie Hall. You are needed everywhere art is made. Hi, Ray. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. You described that perfectly. Everyone is my boss and I work everywhere.
So Ray and I first met when he showed up to haul away my grandmother's old Hardman parlor grand for restoration. And I was
Mm.
so enamored with the process of even just watching you go through the piano, run your hands over it and look through it, and the attention that you paid to, the details of the piano, and even just taking it apart to haul it away. And I was so fascinated by speaking with you about how you found your way to become a piano technician. Would you just give us a little bit of a background? Because you've said yourself, you're in your third career incarnation now.
Yes, I mean, I was a touring musician for many years, and then I taught piano lessons for about 15 years. And I kind of had a life-changing event. I had a car accident, and I was recovering at home, and I hired someone to come and tune my piano. And while he was there, he was kind of chatting me up, and we began talking about, life and how things can get a little chaotic at times. And he says, you look like someone who's maybe ready to turn over a new leaf and start a new chapter in life. Have you thought about this trade? And I was just like, no, never really considered it. But now that you mention it, it is kind of interesting. And I started hanging out with the guy and started following him around to different jobs and things. And he started teaching me a few things. And once you're involved in this industry, opportunities present themselves. And before I knew it, I had a workshop open for business, and it's been quite the
Quite the adventure, I'm sure. So, in order to become a piano technician, there are certain requirements, I would think. I would think that you would have to be someone who has good musicianship. You have to appreciate the sound of a piano, maybe have experience with the sound. Obviously, you have to have a good ear. You can have all the instruments in the world, but you have to understand what you're hearing when you're tuning and working on it. Would you say that that is probably the number one requirement?
Yeah, you even if you're not really a skilled musician, there's a lot of the interaction between the technician and the piano is based on intuition and just knowing when it sounds right, when it feels right, knowing what to expect from the instrument. It's true in this industry, and it also was true when I used to tell my piano students. I said, this piano has every song ever written already in it. You just have to teach it how to sing to you. And as a technician, that is like very intimately true. It's not just about playing it, but knowing that anyone who plays it is going to get the right sound out of it.
Now, this is the part that I find almost overwhelmingly romantic, knowing that these instruments, so many of them you're restoring, well, like when you walked into my home, 100-year-old instrument that has
Mhm.
a soul. And you think about the thousands of pieces of music that have been played at that piano, and it's
Oh,
almost sacred. Would you,
yeah.
do you agree?
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I had a conversation with one of the technicians that's works with me. The other day, we were taking strings off a piano, and it just occurred to me in that moment. I was just like, we are putting an end to an era for these strings. Like, they will never sing another note. And they were old and rusty. It was time to retire them. But you're looking at the history of an instrument. Like you said, it may be 100 years old, and there's been just thousands and thousands of notes that have been played, and we are restoring the instrument so that it can live another 100 years. But there's definitely a moment of like finality when you take the strings off, when you take the action apart, and it's time to put new parts in. You're ending that first chapter in that piano's life. As rickety and old and in need of restoration as it might be,
Yeah.
you are kind of euthanizing that part of the piano's history.
Wow. We'll be back and talk more with Ray Claus, piano technician, about the life of a piano. We're going to hear some Glenn Gould. This is Aria from Bach's Goldberg Variations. We'll be right back. Glenn Gould playing the aria from Bach's Goldberg Variations. I'm Caitlin Matson-Levy, and this is The Green Room. I'm joined by Ray Claus, who is a piano technician with Sharps Piano. Ray, do you own Sharps Piano? You're the owner.
Yes. Yes, it's my business. It started off as an experiment that just went really well, and so now it's my career.
Fantastic. So you had mentioned apprenticeship. So many of these crafts, that's what you do. You study for it, but apprenticeship is really where so much of the hands-on learning takes place. You had that when
Yes.
you first started. Are there apprentice programs for piano technicians and piano
Um,
craftsmen?
there are very few official programs that I know of. I know there's a school out on the East Coast, but you kind of have to live there to take advantage of that opportunity. Most technicians the world over, it really just they get into it kind of like I did. They meet someone who teaches them the trade, and for the lucky few of us where it sticks, we pick up that mantle and pass it on down to the next generation, and that's how the trade has been for long back as it's been measured, and will probably continue that way.
When restoring a piano, let's say you're not tuning, you're not out tuning, you actually have a piano in your shop and you're restoring
Mhm.
it, refurbishing it.
Right.
So there are the guts of the piano, but then there's also the cabinet.
Hmm.
And do you do both, or do you have somebody separate who comes in and does the woodwork?
Well, currently in our shop, we're small enough. We do it all.
Mm.
We we rebuild the actions, we restring them, we reset the plates, we repair the soundboards, and we do the cabinets. And so, a big portion of the job is also kind of being into like furniture restoration, because pianos are so big, and especially in someone's home, it's not just an instrument; it's a beautiful piece of furniture. And so it's kind of two trades in one. And there's definitely a switch when you get done doing cabinet work and switch back to something more technical. But
Mm.
for us, it happens all under one roof.
How long does the process take?
Well, that really depends on the condition of the piano when we get it, and what's being done to it. Full rebuilds, depending on the intricacies of the piano design, that can take a whole year or more. Typically, it's a matter of a few months. But some of the high-end grands that require such meticulous care, you don't want to rush it. Nothing about pianos is fast.
Hmm.
And so sometimes it can take the better part of a year or more.
So we're all familiar with the phrase, they don't make them like they used to. Does that hold true for pianos, do you think?
A lot of them are made a lot better. But that is not to say there aren't some amazing designs that have, sadly been lost over the years, and we get to encounter those and bring them back. There's a lot of things that have changed in the industry over the years. There's a lot of things they just don't do anymore
Mm.
that are really wonderful ideas, and it was only a matter of cost saving and streamlining and mass production that drove them out of the design. And for us, we deal with antiques that are, dozens and dozens of years old. And, we get to preserve some of those older designs. And so it's the best of both worlds. We get to encounter modern ones that have some great improvements, and we get to enjoy some of the timeless designs of the antiques.
What's your favorite part? Is there a certain part in the refurbishing process that you get giddy about? Oh boy, here it comes.
Um, I would have to say it's the final stages. Every element of the final stages, like the last week or so that something's in the shop,
Mm.
but it's finally starting to come together, and the strings are pulled up to tension, and I get to tune it two or three or four times to get those strings stretched out, and it starts to actually make music. Then we get to really see the fruits of our labor. Before that, it's just a matter of process. But then when you actually get to play it again, those last few adjustments that you make during that last week, that's the magical part for me.
Sharp's Piano services pianos throughout the continental United States. Really,
Mhm.
is that true? You'll go pick something up or you'll have something shipped to you?
We've gone all over the country, and there's a couple of other rebuilders in this region that do the same thing. I mean, if
Mhm.
the customer is willing to make that investment, who are we to stand in their way? I'll get in the truck and go and get it. We're not lacking in business, but it's one of those things where there's no reason to limit your reach, because a beautiful Steinway on the East Coast is just as valuable as, a Mason and Hamlin Grand in California. And my truck will take me to both places. So
Ray Claus, thank you so much for being here, being a guest on the Green Room. It's been fascinating speaking to you about your career as a piano technician, as owner of Sharp's Piano. Thank you so much.
thank you.